The penthouse apartment in Manhattan's Upper East Side was in an awkward silence. Tyler Adams, 34 years old, heir to a real estate empire, was sitting on the edge of the king-sized bed, looking at his wife, of exactly 6 hours. Isabella Costa, 29 years old, the cleaning lady who worked at his company's offices, was standing by the window, still wearing the simple wedding dress that cost $300. She had taken off her shoes. They were hurting. And now she was looking at him with an expression Tyler couldn't decipher. It wasn't a bride's nervousness. It wasn't anticipation. It was something more serious. "Tyler," she said, her voice steady despite her slightly trembling hands, "before anything happens between us, I need to tell you the truth, the real truth about who I am and why I agreed to marry you." Tyler felt his stomach tighten, because he knew why he had married her, because of a stupid drunken bet with his wealthy friends. A bet of $50,000 that he wouldn't have the guts to marry the cleaning lady. But why had she accepted? He had always assumed it was for the money, for the chance to escape poverty. But the expression on her face said there was more, much more. And when she began to speak, when she revealed who she really was, Tyler realized he had gotten himself into something much bigger and much more dangerous than he had ever imagined. Before we continue with this thrilling story, subscribe to this channel to always receive special stories like this one, and hit the bell so you don't miss any new videos. 3 months before that tense moment in the penthouse, Tyler Adams was in his favorite bar in Beverly Hills with his childhood friends, all millionaires, all bored, all competitive to the point of toxicity. "50 grand, said Brad, his best friend since private school. $50,000 if you have the guts to marry that cleaning lady from your office. Isabella." The others laughed. They thought it was a joke. But Brad was serious. "Are you insane?" said Tyler. "Get married? Over a bet? Why not? You're always saying marriage is an outdated institution, that you'll never get married, that it's a trap. So prove it. Marry someone completely wrong, just to show it doesn't mean anything. And then you get a divorce, pay alimony, whatever. But at least you show you have the guts to do something impulsive for once in your life." Tyler was drunk. Not drunk enough to not know what he was doing, but drunk enough to think it was a good idea. And there was something else, a challenge, because Brad always teased him. Always said Tyler was too controlled, too calculating, lacking spontaneity. "Fine," said Tyler. "I'll take the bet. But it has to be a real marriage. City Hall, witnesses, the whole legal deal." "Of course. And it has to last at least a month. If you annul it before that, you lose the bet." They shook hands, and Tyler, in his drunken arrogance, thought it would be easy. He would convince the poor cleaning lady to marry him. She probably wouldn't need much convincing. Who would refuse a millionaire? Get married, wait a month, get divorced, give her a generous sum of money, and everyone would move on. Simple, clean, transactional. But Tyler didn't count on Isabella being who she was. The following Monday, he approached her at the office. Isabella was cleaning the conference room, headphones in her ears, completely focused on her work. Tyler watched for a moment before approaching. She was pretty in a discreet way. No makeup, hair pulled back in a practical bun, blue janitorial uniform. But there was something about her, a dignity, a posture that didn't match the job. "Isabella?" he called. She took off her headphones, surprised. "Mr. Adams? Do you need something?" "I'm sorry if I haven't cleaned your office yet. I'll do it now." No, it's not that. I wanted to talk to you in private." "In my office?" Isabella looked confused but followed. In the office, Tyler closed the door and went straight to the point, because he didn't know how to be any other way. "I'm going to make you a strange offer, a very strange one, and I want you to listen to the end before you answer." Isabella crossed her arms, defensive. "Okay. I want you to marry me." Isabella blinked, once, twice, as if she hadn't understood correctly. "Excuse me? I want you to marry me, legally, at City Hall, but it's a marriage of convenience, not love, not romance, pure business. Are you joking with me?" "No. Look, I'll be honest because I don't see the point in lying. I made a stupid bet with my friends. They said I wouldn't have the guts to marry someone common, someone outside my social circle, and I, in my stupid pride, accepted." Isabella looked at him with an expression Tyler couldn't interpret. She wasn't shocked. She wasn't offended, it was calculating. "Let me get this straight. You want me to marry you to win a bet?" "Yes. And what do I get out of this?" Money, a lot of money. $100,000, just for getting married. And after a month, when we divorce, another $200,000. $300,000 total for 1 month of your time. Isabella was silent for a long moment. Tyler expected her to accept immediately. $300,000 was a fortune for someone making $1,500 a month, but she didn't accept. Not yet. Why me? She asked. Specifically? Because you work here. It's convenient. And because my friends saw you once, they know who you are, so they won't think I made you up. So I'm convenient, and poor enough to be a joke. There was something in her tone. Not exactly anger, but it wasn't submission either. Look, said Tyler, beginning to feel uncomfortable. I know it sounds horrible when I put it like that, but it's an honest offer. $300,000. No catch. No expectations other than keeping up the appearance of a marriage for a month. You have your room, I have mine. You don't even have to see me if you don't want to. Isabella studied him with those brown eyes that seemed to see more than Tyler wanted to show. Can I think about it? Tyler hadn't expected that. He expected an immediate yes or no. How much time do you need? 2 days. Okay? 2 days? Isabella left the office, leaving Tyler confused, because she hadn't jumped at the offer, because she seemed to be really thinking, considering angles he couldn't imagine. 2 days later, Isabella returned with an answer. I accept, but with conditions. Conditions. First, the marriage has to look real, at least publicly. I don't want to be seen as a prostitute who was bought for a month. Fair. Second, I want the first payment before the wedding, $100,000, into an account I'll open specifically for this. I don't trust promises. Tyler was surprised by her shrewdness, but he agreed. Done. And third, on our wedding night, when we're alone, I'll tell you something important, and you will listen to me until the end, without interrupting, without judgment, until I'm finished. Tell me what? You'll find out. Do you accept or not? Tyler didn't see a problem with that. It was probably some drama about why she needed the money, a sad story about a sick family or debts. He could handle a sad story. I accept. They shook hands. And so, the deal was made. In the following weeks, Tyler found himself in a surreal situation. He was planning a real wedding. Small, simple, but real. Just City Hall, a few witnesses. Brad and the other friends were invited. They needed to witness that the bet was real. Isabella continued working as a cleaning lady until the week before the wedding. She insisted. She said she wouldn't quit her job until she was sure Tyler wasn't going to back out at the last minute. I don't trust easily, she said, when Tyler asked why. You still think I'm going to scam you? I don't know what to think. I don't really know you yet. This bothered Tyler more than it should have, because he realized Isabella saw him exactly as he was, a rich man doing something stupid for a bet. There were no illusions, no pretense that it was anything more than a transaction, and somehow that was both refreshing and disturbing. The wedding was at an elegant courthouse in Beverly Hills. Tyler wore a $5,000 suit. Isabella wore a simple dress she had bought at a department store. She refused when Tyler offered to pay for something more expensive. It's my wedding too, she said. Even if it's fake, I want to wear something I chose. Brad and the others were there, laughing discreetly, thinking it was all hilarious. Tyler wanted to punch all of them, because when he saw Isabella entering the courthouse, when he saw her standing there in her simple dress and serious expression, it didn't seem like a joke. It seemed real, significant in a way it shouldn't be. The ceremony was quick. They said yes, signed the papers, were declared husband and wife, and then it was done. Tyler had a wife. The reception was at an expensive restaurant Tyler chose, just the small group, his friends, a few co-workers Isabella invited, and surprisingly, her mother. Mrs. Rose was in her 50s, her hands calloused from hard work, and she looked at Tyler with poorly disguised suspicion. My daughter said this marriage is complicated, she said, when they were alone for a moment. It's unconventional, admitted Tyler. Are you going to hurt her? It's not my intention. Intentions don't matter, results do. Isabella is my only daughter. She's smart, smarter than anyone you know. I don't know what she's doing marrying you, but I know she has a reason. There's always a reason with her. There was something in Mrs. Rose's tone, as if she knew something Tyler didn't, as if she was in on a joke he didn't understand. During the reception, Brad approached Tyler. "I can't believe you actually did it. Married the cleaning lady." "I did, a bet's a bet. $50,000, remember? Is it worth it? A month married to someone completely wrong for you?" Tyler looked to where Isabella was talking with her mother. She was smiling, the first genuine smile he had seen from her. And it was beautiful, transformative. "I don't know yet," he admitted. "Ask me again in a month." The end of the night came. Tyler and Isabella went to his penthouse, now theirs technically. In the car they were silent. There was nothing to say. They both knew it was a farce, that in a month it would all be over. But when they entered the apartment, when Tyler showed her the guest room where Isabella would stay, she shook her head. "No, not yet. First we need to talk. Remember? Condition 3. You promised to listen. Now? Can't it wait until tomorrow?" "No, it has to be now, before anything else. Before you think you know me. Before you decide who I am." There was urgency in her voice, and Tyler, tired but curious, agreed. They sat in the living room. Isabella took off her shoes that were hurting, took a deep breath, and began to speak. "My name isn't just Isabella Costa, it's Isabella Costa Rodriguez. And that last name, Rodriguez, should sound familiar." Tyler frowned. Rodriguez was a common last name. Why would it sound? And then it hit him, like a punch to the gut. Rodriguez. As in Rodriguez Holdings? Isabella nodded. Rodriguez Holdings was his company's biggest competitor, a decades-long rival. The Rodriguez family and the Adams family had a long history of competition, sometimes friendly, sometimes hostile. "My father is Frederick Rodriguez, CEO of Rodriguez Holdings." Tyler felt the world spin. You're the daughter of my biggest competitor." "I am." "And you were working as a cleaning lady in my office? Why? Was it espionage? Were you stealing trade secrets?" Isabella let out a humorless laugh. "No, it's not as dramatic as that. I was working as a cleaning lady because my father cut me off, financially, 2 years ago. He said I had to learn the value of money, of hard work, so he took everything. Apartment, car, credit cards, everything. Why? Because I was wasting my life. Parties, drugs for a while, destructive relationships. I was everything you and your friends probably are. Spoiled, lost, without purpose. And my father decided to teach me a hard lesson." Tyler was processing, trying to understand. "So you worked as a cleaning lady for 2 years, in the office of your father's rival. Did he know?" "He knew. In fact, it was his idea. He said, 'If you're going to learn the value of work, you'll learn it where work really matters. In the Adams office, where every mistake, every failure has real consequences.'" That's insane. That's my father. He's tough, but he's not unfair. And it worked. I learned a lot. I learned humility. I learned that people like janitorial staff, people I used to ignore, are humans with stories, dreams, struggles. I learned that money doesn't define worth. Tyler was stunned. But there was more. He could feel it. "But that doesn't explain why you agreed to marry me." Isabella smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone about to reveal a winning card. "I accepted because my father made me an offer. He said, 'If you can infiltrate the Adams family, if you can get inside information, if you can get access to their plans, their business, their secrets, I'll put you back in the company, as vice president, with everything you lost, back, and more.'" Tyler's blood ran cold. You married me to spy? For your father? That was the initial idea, yes. Was. Isabella looked directly into his eyes. But then something changed. "In the last 3 months, while we were planning this ridiculous wedding, while you thought I was a poor cleaning lady accepting money, I was observing you, studying you, and I realized something." "What?" "That you're unhappy, deeply unhappy. You have everything, money, power, privilege, but you have nothing that matters. Your friends are toxic. Your choices are empty. You're making this bet not because you're brave, but because you're desperate to feel something. Anything." The words hit Tyler like slaps, because they were true. Every word was true. "And I realized," Isabella continued, "that I was just like you, 2 years ago, empty, lost, until my father forced me to change. And now he's trying to make me go back to the person I was, using you as an excuse. So why did you accept? If you don't want to spy, why did you marry me?" Isabella stood up. walked to the window overlooking illuminated New York City, because I decided to do something different, something my father doesn't expect, something you don't expect, something no one expects. What? She turned to him. I decided this marriage is going to be real. Tyler let out a disbelieving laugh. Real? Isabella, it's a bet. It's a farce. In a month we get divorced. Not if I decide to make it work. Are you crazy? Probably. But look at your life, Tyler. Look at what it is. Are you happy? Waking up every day to prove something to friends who don't care about you? Working at a company you inherited but don't love? Making stupid bets because you have nothing better to do? Tyler wanted to argue, but he couldn't, because she was right about everything. And you think staying married to me will change that? I don't know, but it's worth trying, because the alternative is going back to my father, accepting a position I don't deserve, betraying you, and becoming the person I spent 2 years trying not to be. But you just told me you came here to spy. How can I trust you? You can't, not yet. But I'm telling you the truth now, the whole truth, when I could have simply stayed quiet, could have kept pretending, could have done what my father wants. But I chose honesty, because if we're going to do this, if we're going to make this marriage something more than a bet, it has to start with the truth. Tyler was sitting, his head in his hands, trying to process everything. A few hours ago, he had a wife he thought was a poor cleaning lady. Now he discovered she was the daughter of his rival, sent to spy but who allegedly had changed her mind. It was too much. It was insane. I need time, he said, to process this. I know, and I'll give you time. But Tyler, one thing is certain. In a month, when this marriage ends, you'll have to make a decision. Stay with me and try to build something real, or get a divorce. Go back to the empty life you had before, and I go back to my father and become the person I don't want to be. Why me? Why are you doing this with me? Isabella smiled, and this time it was a genuine smile. Because in the 2 years I worked in your office, I saw things others didn't. I saw you stay late helping a new employee who was struggling. I saw you double a charity donation when you thought no one was looking. I saw you defend a female employee who was being harassed by an important client. You're not the empty person you pretend to be. You've just forgotten who you really are. Tyler felt something tighten in his chest, because no one had seen those things, no one paid attention. But she had seen. She had paid attention. So, what do we do now? He asked. Now you go to your room. I'll go to mine. And tomorrow we start figuring out if this marriage can be more than a stupid bet. Isabella started walking toward the guest room, but stopped at the door, looked back. Oh, and Tyler, your friend Brad? He's betting against you. He bet the other two that you won't last a week before wanting a divorce, just so you know who your real friends are. And then she left, leaving Tyler alone in the living room, his mind exploding with revelations and his world completely turned upside down. But before we continue and find out what happens in this impossible marriage, leave your like here on the video, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and hit the bell so you don't miss any new story. Do you think Isabella is being honest, or is it manipulation? Should Tyler trust her? And what would you do in his place? Also, tell me which city you're watching this video from, and I'll mark your comment with a special heart. Now let's get back to our story. Tyler didn't sleep that night. He lay in the king-sized bed, staring at the ceiling, processing everything Isabella had revealed. His wife, was the daughter of his father's biggest rival. She had been planted in his office. She had been sent to spy. But she claimed to have changed her mind, claimed to want something real. How the hell was he supposed to process that? At 6 in the morning, he gave up on trying to sleep. He got up, made strong coffee, and was sitting in the kitchen when Isabella appeared. She had changed out of her wedding dress into simple clothes, jeans and a t-shirt, no makeup, hair in a ponytail. She looked exactly like she did when she cleaned the office. "Good morning," she said, cautious. Is it good?" Isabella poured herself coffee and sat across the kitchen island. "You didn't sleep. How can you tell? Your dark circles, and the fact that the coffee pot was empty when I woke up, which means you've already made at least 2 pots. Observant, of course she was. She had been trained for that. "Isabella, I need answers, real ones, no games. You can ask. Does your father know you told me the truth?" "No. He thinks I'm following the plan. Infiltrate, collect information, report back. And if he finds out you told me, he'll completely disown me, not just financially, but emotionally. My father doesn't forgive betrayal. But telling me isn't betraying him. Isabella held the coffee mug with both hands as if needing the warmth. It is, and I'm choosing to betray him instead of betraying you. Because he asked me to do something wrong. And I spent 2 years relearning the difference between right and wrong. How do I know this isn't a more elaborate game? How do I know you're not just telling me what I want to hear? You don't. You can't know. Not yet. But I'll show you. How? Isabella took out her phone, opened her messages, showed a conversation with someone saved as Dad. The messages were from him asking, "Have you gotten access to his files yet? The contracts, the proposals for the new development?" And Isabella's replies, "Not yet, I need more time, he doesn't trust me yet." "These messages are from yesterday," Isabella said. "My father is pressuring me, and I'm lying to him. If I were really following the plan, I would have already asked you for access to your computer, documents, everything." Tyler studied the messages. They seemed real. But still, you could just be waiting for the right moment. Gaining my trust first. I could, and you have every right to think that. But Tyler, look at the situation from another angle. If I really just wanted to spy, why would I tell you who I am? Why not just keep pretending to be a cleaning lady who needs money? That would be much easier. He hadn't thought of that. She was right. If she wanted to spy, maintaining the disguise would be more efficient. So why did you tell me? Because I can't build something real based on a lie, and because you deserve to know what you're getting into. If we're going to try to make this marriage work, it has to be with total honesty, no matter how painful. Tyler drank more coffee, feeling the caffeine start to work, but not clear his thoughts. And if I decide I can't trust you, that I want a divorce now, today, without waiting the month? Isabella shrugged, but he saw the pain in her eyes. Then we get a divorce. You lose the bet with your friends. I go back to my father and accept the position he offered. We both go back to the lives we don't want. But at least we tried. Tried? We haven't even started. We started when we got married, when we signed those papers. The motivations might have been wrong, but the result is real. We're married, legally, and now we have a choice. Make something of it, or throw it away. Tyler stood up, started pacing the kitchen. He needed to think. He needed to process. You said you observed me for 2 years, that you saw things others didn't. Tell me more about that. Isabella seemed surprised by the change of subject but went along. Remember that time about 8 months ago when that new employee, I think his name was John, was struggling with the reports? You stayed until 11 at night helping him. You didn't delegate to anyone. You did it yourself. Tyler vaguely remembered. John was a good kid, just needed guidance. And remember when that important client, that businessman from Chicago, made an inappropriate comment to Mary at reception? You not only reprimanded him, you cancelled a $2 million contract, said you didn't do business with men who didn't respect women. Tyler remembered that more clearly. It had been an expensive decision, but the right one. And 3 months ago, Isabella continued, when you found out the cleaning company was underpaying its workers, you didn't just switch suppliers. You paid the difference of 6 months' salary for each affected worker. Out of your own pocket, no fanfare, no PR. Tyler didn't know anyone had noticed that. It had been a private gesture. How do you know about these things? Because I was there, invisible. The cleaning lady no one notices. But I saw everything. I saw you when you thought no one was looking, and I saw a good man trying to hide his goodness behind a facade of a cold businessman. Something tightened in Tyler's chest, because she saw him, really saw him. Not his public version, not the rich heir, but the man who tried to do the right thing even when it was hard. And your friends? She said softly. Brad, Derek, Mark. Do they see you? Do they know these things about you? Or do they just see you as competition? As someone to make stupid bets with? Tyler sat back down, because the answer was obvious. His friends didn't know him, not really. They were friends of convenience, of a shared childhood at an expensive private school, but not of substance. All right, he said finally. All right, we'll try. 1 month, as planned, but with total honesty. No secrets, no games. Isabella let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Thank you. You won't regret it. I hope not. Because if this is an elaborate lie, Isabella, it won't just be my heart that breaks. It will be war between our families. Do you understand that? I understand, and I accept the risk. The first few days were strange. Tyler went to work as usual, but now there was a wife at home. A wife who wasn't really a wife, but who also wasn't just a business arrangement. It was something undefined, something new. Isabella wasn't idle. She started cooking, something Tyler hadn't expected. Dinner was ready when he got home. Not expensive restaurant food, but home-cooked meals, simple but made with care. "I learned to cook in the last 2 years," she explained. "When you don't have money to eat out every day, you learn." They ate together, talked about work, about complicated families, about dreams they had when they were young, before money and pressure corrupted everything. "I wanted to be an architect," Tyler confessed one night, "not a company administrator. I wanted to create things, buildings, spaces, places where people would live. But my father said no to architecture, that I had to run the empire he built." "It's never too late," Isabella said, "to follow what you love. It is when you have a company with 300 employees depending on you, or you can delegate, hire a competent CEO, and focus on what really makes you happy." It was a radical thought, but an attractive one, dangerously attractive. A week after the wedding, Brad called. "So, married man, how's life married to the cleaning lady?" Tyler felt immediate anger, but controlled it. "It's fine, better than I expected." "Really? Because we bet, me, Derek and Mark, that you won't last 2 weeks. It's been one more and you lose." "I'm not going to lose." "Oh no, because it seems like she's still living in the guest room. It's not a real marriage. It's a farce you're keeping up out of pride." How did Brad know about the guest room? Tyler hadn't told him. "Do you have a spy here in my home?" "Calm down, it's not a spy. It's the building superintendent. We're friends. He mentioned that your wife asked for extra towels for the guest room. Kind of suspicious, don't you think?" Tyler hung up, furious. Not at Isabella, at Brad, at his toxic friends who couldn't accept that something genuine might be happening. Isabella noticed his expression when he walked into the living room. "What happened?" "Brad, your friends. They bet on how long I'd last, and they have the building superintendent reporting on us." Isabella made a disgusted face. "These are your friends?" "No, they're not. I realize that now. Finally. So what are you going to do?" Tyler looked at her, really looked, and made a decision. "I'm going to show them they were wrong. About everything." He walked over to where Isabella was sitting, held out his hand. "Marry me again. For real this time. Not a bet, not espionage, just the two of us trying to build something real." Isabella looked at his hand, and then took it. "We're already married. Legally, yes, but not in heart. I want to change that. If you want to, too." "I do. More than anything." In the following weeks, something fundamentally changed. They stopped pretending, stopped maintaining careful distance. Isabella moved out of the guest room, moved her things, the few she had, into the master bedroom. Not immediately as a couple, but as people sharing a space, learning about each other. "You snore," Isabella said one morning. "You talk in your sleep," Tyler replied. "I do. What do I say?" "Yesterday you said, 'No, Dad, I won't do that.' Were you dreaming about him?" Isabella went quiet. "I dream about him every night, about the disappointment on his face when he finds out I chose you. There's still time to go back, to do what he wants. There isn't. Not anymore. Because it would betray who I've become in the last 2 years, and it would betray you, and I've found I can't do either." Tyler pulled her into a hug and realized he was falling in love, not with the idea of her, not with the rebellion of marrying his rival's daughter, but with her, with Isabella, with the woman who had the courage to defy her own father, who had the humility to work as a cleaning lady, who had the kindness to see the best in him. 2 weeks after the wedding, Isabella's father called her. Tyler was nearby. They were together for almost everything now, and heard the conversation. "Isabella, it's taking too long. I need those contracts, that information. What's the point of being married to the Adams heir if you don't bring results?" Isabella looked at Tyler. He nodded, encouraging. "Dad, I need to tell you something." "What?" "I told Tyler who I am, why I married him, everything." Silence on the other end. "And then?" "You did what?" "I told him the truth, because I couldn't keep lying, and because I decided I'm not going to spy for you, that I'm going to make this marriage work for real." "You're an idiot. You threw it all away. Your position in the company, your inheritance, your future." "I threw away a future I didn't want, and I chose a future I want to build." "With the Adams boy? You're betraying your family. I'm betraying your plan, not the family, because a real family wouldn't ask me to do what you asked. Frederick hung up, but both knew it wasn't the end. Frederick Rodriguez was not a man who accepted defeat. 3 weeks after the wedding, 1 week before the agreed-upon month was up, Tyler got a call at the office. It was Frederick Rodriguez, personally. "Mr. Adams, we need to talk. About my daughter. What do you want?" "A meeting. Today. My office. Alone. Without Isabella." "Why?" "Because I need to know your intentions. If you're using my daughter as a pawn in a business game, or if you're serious," Tyler thought, and agreed, because he had things to say too. Frederick Rodriguez's office was impressive, but no more so than Tyler's. They were equals in that regard, powerful men used to intimidation, but neither was intimidated. "My daughter told you why she married you," Frederick began. "She did, and you still stayed with her, especially because of that, because she had the courage to tell me, to give me a choice." Frederick studied Tyler with a calculating look. "You know what I think. I think you're using her, using access to my family, just like I tried to use you. Think what you want, but you're wrong. I love your daughter." "Love?" Frederick let out a cold laugh. "You've known her for a month. You don't love her. It's infatuation. I've known her for 2 years. She worked in my office. I observed her, talked to her, learned who she is. And yes, I love her. Not in spite of who she is, but because of who she is." "Fine words, but words are cheap. Then let me make an offer, an expensive offer." Frederick leaned forward, interested. "I propose a merger between our companies," said Tyler. "Adams and Rodriguez. Total partnership, 50-50. Together we'd be the largest company in the sector in the country." Frederick was shocked. Clearly he hadn't expected this. "You're offering half your company?" "I am. For the union of our families. Not for espionage, not for betrayal, but for an honest partnership. Our fathers competed for decades. Maybe it's time for the next generation to do things differently." "And Isabella, does she come back to my company?" "If she wants to, as vice president, as you promised, but not for spying, on merit, because she's smart, capable, and deserves the position." Frederick was silent for a long moment, processing, evaluating. "Why would you do this? Give away half your empire?" "Because it's not my empire. It's my father's empire, which I never really wanted, and because I realized that building bridges is more valuable than maintaining walls. Isabella taught me that. She was always smart, even when she was lost. But these last 2 years have changed her for the better. They changed her, and now she's changing me." Frederick stood up, extended his hand. "You have a deal, merger, partnership, but on one condition." "What?" "You treat my daughter well, because if you don't, all our combined companies won't protect you from me." Tyler shook his hand. "Don't worry. She's all that matters to me now." When Tyler returned home, no longer alone, but their shared home, he found Isabella nervous. "My father called, said you went to see him." "What happened?" Tyler smiled. "I offered a merger between our companies. Total partnership. He accepted." Isabella's eyes widened. "You did what?" "I united our families. Officially. In business and in marriage. But that means you gave away half the company. It means I built something bigger, and it means you can go back to your father's company as vice president, if you want to." Isabella hugged him, crying. "I don't want to. Not yet. I want to finish college first. I did 2 years of business admin before everything fell apart. I want to finish. Do it right, not as a shortcut. Then do it. I'll support you in everything. You gave up half your company for me. I gave up half of something I never wanted to build a life I always wanted. There's a difference." A month after the wedding, exactly when the bet would end, Tyler called a meeting with Brad, Derek, and Mark. "I came to collect my $50,000, he said. "I stayed married for a month, as agreed." Brad looked suspicious. "But you're getting divorced now, right?" "It was a bet. 1 month and divorce." "No." "No what?" "I'm not getting divorced, I'm staying married. Forever if she'll have me. So technically, yes, I stayed married for a month, and I'll also stay married for all the months after. The bet was about having the guts to get married. I did, and I gained much more than $50,000. Derek laughed, disbelieving. "You fell in love with the cleaning lady? Seriously?" "I fell in love with my wife, and yes, seriously. More serious than anything in my life. Mark shook his head. You're crazy. You're going to regret it. Maybe, but I'll regret it happy. And you know what else? Isabella isn't a cleaning lady. She's Isabella Rodriguez, daughter of Frederick Rodriguez, who just became my partner in a company merger. So technically I married an heiress, not a cleaning lady. You guys were the idiots for not knowing who she was. The shock on their faces was gratifying, but Tyler no longer cared about the impact. He took the $50,000 check that Brad reluctantly handed over. I'm donating this, said Tyler, to an organization that trains low-income people in skilled professions, because I've discovered that honest work, whether it's cleaning or anything else, has more dignity than stupid bets between bored rich people. And he left, without looking back, without regret. That night at home, Isabella asked, "Do you regret it? Making the bet? Everything?" Tyler thought honestly. "I regret the bet. It was immature, cruel, but I don't regret where it led us because it led me to you, and you are the best thing that has ever happened to me. Even knowing I married you for the wrong reasons, we married for the wrong reasons, but we're staying for the right ones, and that's what matters." Isabella nestled into his chest. "My mum called me today. What did she say?" "She said she always knew. That when I came to see you that first day to accept the proposal, she noticed I was already half in love, even though I wouldn't admit it to myself. You were. I was. I spent 2 years observing you, watching you be good when no one was looking. It's hard not to fall in love with that. So your spy mission was doomed from the start. Completely. Because you can't spy on someone and not see their humanity. And once you see it, you can't betray them anymore." They fell into a comfortable silence, until Tyler asked, "And now? What do we do? Now we live, for real. No bets, no missions, no expectations from other people. Just us." Sounds scary. Sounds perfect. 5 years after that bet marriage, Tyler and Isabella were in a new office. Not Adams, not Rodriguez, but Adams Rodriguez. The merger had been a success, the largest company in the sector, but more importantly, it had been the union of families that had competed for decades. Isabella had finished college. She worked as a corporate lawyer at the company, not because she was the CEO's wife, but because she was good, really good. Tyler had done something radical. He hired a CEO to manage day-to-day operations and returned to his passion, architecture. He now designed buildings that the company constructed, uniting creativity and business, finally doing what he loved. They had a son, Gabriel, 3 years old, and Isabella was pregnant with twins. "I never imagined," Tyler said one night, "that a stupid bet would lead me to this, to family, to purpose, to real happiness." "It wasn't the bet that led you here," corrected Isabella. "It was you being willing to change, to listen, to trust when you had no reason to trust. And you had the courage to betray your father, to tell me the truth when you could have simply lied. It wouldn't have worked if I had lied. Wrong foundations make weak constructions. I learned that working in a construction company office." They laughed, but there was truth in that. Frederick visited frequently now. He had offered formal apologies to Tyler. He had apologized to Isabella for putting her in an impossible position. And he had developed a strangely affectionate relationship with the son-in-law he had tried to use as a pawn. "You're better than I deserved," Frederick said once, "for my daughter and for my company." "Isabella made me better," Tyler replied. "She saw something in me that I didn't even see." Mrs. Rose, Isabella's mother, was also a constant presence. She adored Gabriel and loved to reminisce. "I knew, from the very first day, that you weren't just a cleaning lady doing this for money. There was something more. There's always something more with you." "I underestimated everything," Isabella admitted. "I thought it was a mission. I thought I was in control. But I was wrong. It was destiny disguised as a bet." Brad, Derek, and Mark were no longer Tyler's friends. They had drifted apart after losing the bet, and realizing Tyler had changed, that he was no longer one of them. Tyler didn't miss them. He had real friends now, people of substance, including some of Isabella's ex-co-workers from her time as a cleaning lady, who had been invited to the second wedding, a real ceremony they had 2 years later, with family and love. 10 years after the original bet, Tyler was invited to give a lecture at a business administration college about the Adams-Rodriguez merger, about how they had built an empire larger than their fathers had ever imagined. At the end, a student asked, "Mr. Adams, what was the best business decision you ever made?" Tyler didn't hesitate. marrying my wife, not because of the merger that resulted, but because she taught me that real value isn't in how much you have. It's in who you are when no one is paying attention. And that courage isn't making stupid bets. Courage is admitting when you're wrong and choosing change. But I heard your marriage started as a bet, said another student. It did. And it was the stupidest decision I ever made. But it also led me to the person who showed me who I could be. Sometimes mistakes lead us to the right places, but only if we're willing to learn, to grow, to change. After the lecture, Isabella was waiting. Gabriel and the twins, Lauren and Sophia, now 7 years old, with her. How was it? She asked. I told them about us, about the bet, about everything. And what did the students think? They thought it was unlikely, but inspiring, that even from the worst decisions something good can come. Gabriel tugged on his father's sleeve. Dad, is it true you married Mom over a bet? Tyler knelt down to his son's height. It's true. And it was stupid, but your mother forgave my stupidity. And she taught me to be a better man. A man who deserved her. And would you bet again? Never. But I'm grateful every day that I bet that one time, because it brought me to your mother, and it brought me to you and your sisters, and this life we've built. Gabriel seemed satisfied with the answer, and ran off after his sisters. Isabella took Tyler's hand. You know what my father told me yesterday? What? He said that when he sent me to work as a cleaning lady, he expected me to learn humility. He expected me to learn the value of work. But he didn't expect me to find love. He didn't expect me to find you. And what did you say? I said I didn't expect it either, but that sometimes the best things are the unexpected ones, the unplanned ones, the ones that defy all expectations. Like bets that turn into real marriages. Exactly. They walked to the car, children running ahead, noisy and happy, and Tyler thought about how his life had changed, from an empty man making stupid bets to a man with purpose, with family, with real love. All because Isabella had the courage to be honest, to confess the spy plan, to choose him instead of her father, to bet on him when he wasn't even betting on himself. Thank you, he said suddenly. For what? For seeing me, when I was just an invisible janitor in my own eyes. Trapped in a role I didn't choose. You saw the real me. You saw me too, even when you found out I had lied, even when you had every right to hate me. You chose to see beyond the mistake. Maybe we're perfect matches after all. Maybe we always were. We just needed a stupid bet to find out. They laughed. And it was the laughter of people who had walked through fire together, who had lied and confessed, who had hurt and forgiven, who had started wrong but ended right. Because in the end, the story wasn't about a bet. It wasn't about espionage or company mergers or family conflicts. It was about two lost people who found each other in the most unlikely place, who chose honesty when a lie would have been easier, who chose love when logic said to run. It was about Tyler learning that having everything meant nothing if you had no one to share it with, and about Isabella learning that her identity wasn't defined by her father or her last name, but by the choices she made. It was about turning a mistake into an opportunity, a bet into a commitment, an initial lie into a lasting truth, and about discovering that sometimes the best investment isn't in businesses or properties or companies. It's in a person, the right person, even when, especially when, you find them in the most wrong way possible. Because love built from bad beginnings can be stronger than love that started perfectly. Because it was tested, because it survived, because it chose to continue when it would have been easy to give up. And that, more than any bet, more than any amount of money, more than any business empire, was worth everything. Comment down below right bets, so I know you made it to the end of this video, and I'll mark your comment with a special heart. And if Tyler and Isabella's story moved you, I have an even more surprising one to share with you. Just click on the video that's appearing on your screen now, and I'll tell you everything. A big hug, and see you in the next thrilling story. Bye-bye.